Before you start creating gestures, the first thing you need to remember is that figures are about 7.5 to 8 heads tall. This measurement is important because you can take the size of the head and compare it to the size of the body as you are drawing different gestures to make sure things are proportional. There are several mark-making techniques you can use to create gesture. When I create gestures, I normally focus on the general shapes of the figure, or I'll take the side of the pastel to show the mass of the form. Generally speaking, it's best to use a live figure when creating gestures. The reason for this is that gravity affects all objects. As an artist draws a figure, the weight of the figure will make that person want or need to move, as holding the pose will start to hurt after a while. This reality means that artists must move quickly when they attempt to capture and depict the human form. For these gestures, I didn't have a live model, so I used photographs of figures moving in space and limited myself to the amount of time I allowed for drawing by setting a timer with my smartphone. A kitchen timer works as well. For simpler gestures, which means mostly capturing the positive and negative shapes, you should limit yourself to about 2 minutes as a beginning student. As you get better at this and more advanced, speeding up the time is important. Often, college classes will start with 30-second gestures. As you draw a gesture of any figure, it's important to use your arm all the way up to your shoulder as it provides the best variety of marks on the page, something artists refer to as pressure, speed, and rhythm. When creating a gesture, it doesn't really matter where you start, as long as you look at the object and continually compare the shapes and sizes of one part of the figure to another to keep things proportional. What you should notice about me as I do this is that I'm looking at the image I used as much or more than the paper I'm drawing on. As I look at the image and then my paper, I'm comparing the negative spaces around and within the figure to depict it accurately. I'm also comparing angles of the body parts and thinking about the fact that the body gets thinner as it moves to the extremities. If there's time left, once I have the shapes of the body drawn, I include value to show where the light is hitting the figure. Some gestures can also last as long as 30 minutes, but those become more finished drawings. Here I used 4 colors. I would use for sure at least 3, a light, a medium, and a dark to show the value. I always start gestures with the lightest color to capture the form. Then I add other colors to create the value on the figure. I can correct some initial mistakes as I add those darker colors. Again, I'm continually measuring what I've drawn and comparing the sizes and shapes of my drawing with what I'm seeing, looking at the figure more than at my drawing. You should notice as I add value to the figure and background of this gesture, the colors and mark making have a specific pressure, speed, and rhythm specific to me. You'll notice that you have a specific mark making style as well. One other thing I noticed as I was working on the background is that I forgot to unwrap the blue oil pastel, which limited my marks towards the end of the drawing. I normally unwrap everything as I work so that I can use any part of the pastel and get a variety of lines, tones, and strokes. By the time my smartphone time elapsed, I normally have a fairly decent gesture drawing. This will take some practice to do. If you keep trying, eventually you'll get better and even really good at it. Nothing great comes without hard work. You can do it if you keep trying.